What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo. Welcome to another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I'm your host. Today, we're going to have a great interview with Purdue assistant coach Brandon Brantley. We'll have a nice update, an important update for Terrance Shannon Jr.'s trial coming up in Kansas. We've got some recruiting updates. We're talking about Coleman Hawkins and his visit to Kansas State. And then I'll take your questions after that. So here we go. Go ahead, Ryan. Roll the intro. What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming at you with another special edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I told you, you got to check in. You never know who's going to show up. I've got the pleasure of Purdue assistant coach Brandon Brantley joining me today. Coach, thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, brother. It's an honor.
Oh, man, it's an honor to have you on. You guys with Bardo's Breakdown, you guys understand. I try to highlight people that I know are very important to their programs, may not get the recognition. Coach Brantley is one of those where he rolls undercover, just smooth, quiet, doesn't do it, but he's always coming up with results. And I like the way that you guys do your thing. So, Coach, you played at Purdue, which makes it even more palpable for you. What was your experience like as a Boiler?
It was phenomenal. It was, I tell now being in the role of assistant coach, one of my tasks is recruiting. And so one of the best things is selling Purdue, but one of the best things about it is I'm selling a product that I bought years ago.
I like that.
And so what I do is I take a little bit of my experience and try to weave it so the kids can understand. But my experience was good. I was, of course, growing up in East Chicago, Gary, Indiana. We got a steady diet of Big Ten basketball. So, yes. You and I have talked about it plenty of times. Your Illini team was one of my favorite teams watching when I was in high school. And so, I had that dream of wanting to play in the Big Ten. But sometimes when you're young, you think you're just going to walk in that thing and it's going to be easy. And, I came in and I found out quickly, I was a guy who I came into school young. So I didn't turn 18 until October of my freshman year, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I was physically weak. I needed to add a lot of strength and muscle to be able to be productive at that level. So the first 2 years, the first year was just a lot of learning lessons. I think we finished 8th in the Big Ten, 7th or 8th. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but it was my introduction, man, just coming across like so many great players. And
yep.
We didn't make the NCAA tournament that year, but we did go to the NIT. And I just remember sitting on my bed in the dorm room, I said, man, we can't do this again, man. We need to get to this big dance. And so we got there the next year, but I actually had the red shirt because I was supposed to red shirt my first year, but because Glenn Robinson was ineligible to play, I had to play due to us having a thin front line. And so I actually redshirted my second year.
Okay.
That was even more painful because once you get a taste of it, you're like, okay, well, now I know I think I know what it takes to be successful, but I had to kind of sit out and watch. But it was a very integral part of my growth. I didn't travel during the weekdays because I couldn't miss class being a red shirt. And so I got more time in the weight room. I started learning how to work on my own. I think, our generation, we thought working on our game was just actually going out and finding games and playing and trying to find great competition. and just go against that competition. And I found out I needed to learn how to work individually on my game, my shooting, my ball handling. So I was able to do that. And then the next 3 years, we won the Big Ten 3 years in a row. So made it all that sweeter because just knowing like what I walked into and how difficult it was, and to be able to win 3 titles in a row in a conference as tough as the Big Ten was sweet.
Ladies and gentlemen, so you just heard Coach Brantley say they won 3 in a row. You know how hard that is to win 3? You know how hard it is to win 1 Big Ten championship, let alone 3 in a row. So this is Big Ten royalty we're speaking with here on Bardo's Breakdown. So, Coach, take us through, after your playing career, did you know immediately that you wanted to go into coaching, and kind of take us into how you got into the business?
When I was done at Purdue, like every other player, you have dreams of wanting to play in the NBA, and which is the highest level of basketball, and it's extremely difficult. So I kind of knew. I was like, no, if I do get to the NBA, I said, man, great. But if I don't, I got to find something else. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to go overseas and play for 10 seasons. I played 3 seasons in Italy, 3 in Spain, 1 in Greece, 1 in Finland, 1 in England, and 1 in France. And so one of the best experiences of my life, to not only be able to play professionally, but to be able to get a chance and experience different cultures. And I think that was a very important part of my growth. The one thing is, people think when you grown, you stop growing. And I left Purdue 22 years old, 23. Found out I still had a lot more growing to do. So was able to play over there for 10 years. When I was done, and I don't know if you experienced this or not, but every player, you just know when your time is up. And I remember riding back home from the airport, and I was thinking back to when I first started playing the game, when my dad introduced me to it, and elementary school and junior high school, like every step, it was just racing through my mind. And I was just like, man, I got to find a way to stay around the game. I was just like that. I think, man, God made me to be a basketball player and to be around basketball. And so I started making phone calls. I said, man, I think I want to get into coaching. I actually reached out, Bruce Weber, who's a former head coach of Illinois, and he said, get into high school basketball. So, you'll learn so much. It'll help you. And if you want to take that step, you'll know. And so I started coaching high school basketball as an assistant at Ben Davis.
In Indianapolis. Yeah.
Indianapolis. I was there for 5 seasons, and I really loved it. And part of the reason I wanted to coach was not only being around basketball, but I wanted to work with young people. I think when you work with young people, it kind of keeps you young and keeps you on your toes. You got to show up. It can't be any mess, because they're going to be able to sniff it out. So I learned so much, being able to work with those kids and all the fine people over at Ben Davis High School. Got into AAU when I was done at Ben Davis. And so towards the end of the summer, Michael Shrewsbury, who's now the head coach at Notre Dame, decided to leave Purdue's staff because Brad Stevens had got the job with the Boston Celtics. So I was talking to Coach Painter. I'm fighting, scrapping, trying to do everything I could to be able to put myself in that position. And Coach is one of the great explainers of things. And so I know sometimes I reached out to people for jobs and didn't get the job, never found out quite why I didn't get the job. But Coach, he was just like, hey, man, like a lot of former players think that because you played that you can just jump right into coaching. And so he did a great job of just explaining everything, what he was looking for, where I was at in the process. Long story short, I was able to get that job, and now here I am Blessed to be back at my alma mater, going into my 12th season. So, it worked out for me.
Oh, I would say it's worked out. It's worked out for Purdue as well, with your value and your input with that program.
No, I'm the one I'm blessed, man. I know everybody has a job to do, but I first became associated with Purdue elementary school, 5th and 6th grade. I went to basketball camp there, so it's some buildings. I still walk around to this day, and I can remember. I was 10 years old. I was 11 years old, just looking at everything, taking everything in, and never in my wildest dreams did I think that not only would I be able to come to Purdue and play, but to be able to come back and be a coach. And there's still people that are walking around on that campus that knew me when I was a young man, when I was a boy. They haven't changed. They've done a great job of not only taking care of me, but my family. So, I'm the one that's blessed.
I love that. And, for our viewers, you guys can start to hear the passion from Coach Brantley, because he this is part of his life for decades. And to be back at your alma mater and represent your alma mater, coach, like all coaches in college basketball, because to me, it's one of the most competitive environments in the country. Like Coach Brantley, all coaches are going to go as hard as they possibly can. But there's a little bit more when you're back at your alma mater. It just means a little bit more. And I think you guys can feel that like I'm feeling it talking to Coach Brantley here. Coach, talk to me about the influence of Gene Keady.
Wow. One of the top 3 influential people that I've ever encountered in life. Definitely my parents. They were the ones that brought me into this world, raised me to be the man that I am today. But something to be said for guys like Coach Keady, because you play for a great coach in Lou Henson. When my parents dropped me off, I think they done the best job that they could do, up to that point.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to cross paths with somebody that they love you, but they're not afraid to stick their foot up your butt when you kind of get off course.
Yep, that's
right.
right.
Coach was coach. When I stepped on campus and I was officially a Boilermaker, he set the tone. And it's some things that like my parents, they're gonna let me get away with stuff. They love me. It's all right, you were late, don't do it again. Okay, you did this, don't do it again. You weren't gonna get away with that with Coach Keady.
Right.
You were late, you were gonna be punished. You walk out onto that court and your jersey was untucked, your shoes are untied. He's gonna get you. You miss a box out, you blow a defensive assignment, like whatever. Like he was gonna get you, and it was a love-hate relationship. I think every guy that's played college basketball can say that. At the time, I hate this dude. I don't like this dude. Why did I come here? I should transfer. I know this school over here, they like me. I wonder how they feel about me. And then you get away, you graduate, you move on, and you look back, because now you've been out in the world and you've experienced some things, and you say, man, this is one of the best decisions I ever made. And now I see why Coach was on me like this, because the world is unforgiving.
Yes, it is.
You can't make a lot of mistakes out here.
That's right.
And due to people like Coach Keady and Coach Lou Henson that stayed on us, and we successful in life right now. So that's what Coach Keady meant to me. I know as an athlete, people talk basketball, and I say, when I go back and the things that I miss are the camaraderie, with my teammates, being able to grow with those guys, because it's a different relationship, because you're rooming with somebody that you play with. So we waking up in the morning together. This guy's over here praying, I'm praying. We got to get up, we got to go to class. We're trying to attack the day. We're practicing together. we eating together after practice.
Yep.
And, all kind of. So it's a very different relationship. But those are the things I miss, and it was because of Coach Keady. Just him having that blackboard out at practice, and maybe he was teaching us something about basketball, but it was a lot of life lessons in that. And in the film room, Coach cracking jokes, but I was able to stay overseas for 10 years, and I crossed the paths with a lot of guys who were bigger than me, stronger than me, more athletic, maybe had more talent, but I knew how to outwork those guys. I knew how to outcompete those guys, and I know Coach Keady was a big part of that.
No, that's a great tribute. Gene Keady, ladies and gentlemen, one of the best Big Ten basketball coaches ever in history. It's amazing that he was not overshadowed by Bobby Knight, who was a larger-than-life figure nationally for a while there. When Indiana won those national championships. But Gene Keady, I've had, Purdue recruited me. Gene came to the house. I didn't take a visit there, but I've had some exchanges with him. And we beat you guys over in Champaign our senior year. And he is getting at Rodney Jones, my teammate. So I said, Coach, why are you getting on him, man? We beat your, what? And he said, Bardo, I always knew you were, he said something. And I said, yeah, but we beat that. And he said, yeah, you're right. And he slammed the door and he ripped his team for 30 minutes, bro. We're in the showers, getting out, coming out. I think he was still peeling paint off the wall. So to me, I love competing against Purdue because Gene Keady was intense, man. He was a great coach. And I talked to Todd Mitchell. I've talked to Everett Stevens, Tony Jones, all these guys that played at Purdue. There's another guard I'm thinking about.
Troy Lewis. Did you know Troy Lewis?
Yeah, did I?
Tony Jones.
Yeah, the Troy Lewis put a few in my eye, man. But the thing about the Purdue culture is that it's been very consistent, and it seems as though Matt Painter has picked up where Gene left off, but he's added his own spin on it. Try to give our viewers a sense of what working with Coach Matt Painter is like. And the reason I'm smiling, guys, because Matt Painter might be the best comedian in college basketball. I'm telling you, the dude is funny. He wakes up in the morning, he's funny. But can you share with us what you can about what it's like working with Coach Matt Painter?
A lot of similarities. I think some of the best attributes that those two men share, or that they care about people. When players commit to our program, they want to make sure it's one of the best experiences of these young people's lives. And so when they come in, doesn't mean they're going to be coddled. Absolutely not.
Sure.
But if you love basketball, then Purdue is your place. I love basketball, and I wanted to be coached by Gene Keady. I didn't mind all the fiery stuff that you were talking about. Like that's what I want. I didn't want a soft coach.
There you go.
And Coach Painter is the same way. Cares about our guys, builds relationships with them, coaches them hard. Yeah. But he knows how to talk to the kids. He's a comedian as well. Coach Keady was a comedian. He's always even in the midst of it, when he's coaching you hard, he can still make you laugh. And that's what Coach Painter does. But when you cross those lines, man, you better be giving 110%. Because we're trying to win everything we can. It's a very competitive league.
Yes, it is.
It was no different from you when you played for Lou Henson. So those guys like that, man, is something to be said, man. It's a great experience. I wish more kids could experience it, because it definitely put me in the position that I'm in today. And he's doing a great job with the kids that have come through with the experiences that they have at Purdue and the positions that they're in later on in life.
I'm on, ladies and gentlemen, right now with assistant coach Brandon Brantley of Purdue. He's kind enough to give us some time here on Bardo's Breakdown. I have had this question since I started watching college basketball. Coach, why is Purdue always underrated?
Why
is that?
I think, when as a fan of college basketball, people tune in and you kind of hear the same names, it's because and not to say that some schools don't deserve it because year in and year out over the years they've been great. The North Carolinas, the Dukes, the UCLAs, the Blue Bloods, Kansas.
Sure.
And and I think Purdue has been a great program. But there's some schools out there that may not get the recognition that the Blue Bloods get. May not be quite as sexy. But the one thing you learn is, and I think, I don't know why you chose Illinois. Smart players choose the programs that are going to be the best fit for them. Where can I find an early opportunity? Where am I going to be developed? And some more questions behind that. And I think that's what we've been able to do. It's only 20 to 25 5-stars in the country every year.
Great point.
You got so many schools chasing, and so like an institution like Purdue, I think we've been good at finding diamonds in the rough and bringing guys in and developing them. And maybe when you come in, you're not as known as some guy, but we do a great job of, like, when the race is finished, we've caught up and sometimes we've passed up those guys. So that's what Purdue is. I think, we look for guys. It's like the Pittsburgh Steelers. You tune in and watch the Pittsburgh Steelers and you expect those guys to roll up their sleeves and it's going to be physical. And
that's right.
And they're going to fight you. And that's what Purdue basketball is in a lot of fans' minds. We may not be the sexiest, but we damn sure going to be one of the hardest working, most physical programs.
Oh, that's certainly true, man. I mean, and for those of you all that call yourselves college basketball fans, if you have not been to a game in Mackey Arena, you're missing arguably the best spot in the country. I mean, maybe Bud Walton Arena in Arkansas, maybe Kansas.
Our conference, man. Our conference, we do a great job. If you're a fan of basketball, you're in the Midwest, come check out a game in Mackey.
Yes.
Assembly Hall.
Yep.
The Wrestling Center, man. There's so many great venues within our conference.
I agree with that. No, I totally agree with that. So, Coach, I want to get a sense of, you all ran into a buzzsaw in the national championship game at UConn. They were just stacked, loaded. But the fact that you were able to overcome that first round defeat, come back with the focus, and be able to overcome everything that goes into a marathon of a season and find your way in the national championship game. Kind of give us a sense of what the disappointment from that first round loss to the jubilation of reaching the national title game. What did that feel like? What was that like?
Nobody that 22-23 season, we had a talented team the year before with Jaden Ivey, Travion Williams, all those guys. We fell short in the Sweet 16. It was a very talented and deep team. And so, of course, we lose guys like Jaden and Travion. And so now, people thought we were going to take a step back. And, we out here, we starting 2 freshman guards.
Yep.
Zach had a great season, but he had never carried a team. And so naturally, they were going to be question marks surrounding that team. We were able to get off to a great start. We go up to the PK in Portland. We win that. And we're on the roll.
Yep.
So I remember having conversations with you about it.
Yep.
And, and one of my biggest concerns was, man, I knew we'd have a good team, but you know how it is. The tournament is a different monster. And in the back of my mind, I said, man, we're going into the tournament with 2 freshman guards. And it's just, the tournament, man, can just swallow young guys, man. It's, you get into those games and you're the higher seed, and all of a sudden you lose that lead, and that crowd is going to flip like this on you.
That's right.
I have no idea, why we lost that game. I'm definitely not going to say we didn't deserve it, or because I don't want to take any time you get beat, I'm gonna give all credit to the team that beat us.
Sure.
And I just remember after that game, just walking off that court, man, I felt bad for all the guys because I knew everything that went into that season and everything we had accomplished, and like it was over. And so just sitting in that locker room, I mean, it was the closest thing I've ever felt to like being in a funeral, but not being at a funeral. We just, everybody dejected. Nobody knew what to say.
Sure.
We head back to the hotel. We walking in the lobby, and our loyal fans are still there cheering and clapping. But you looking at faces, and it looked like they seen a ghost too. I just remember just sitting in my room. I said, man, I'm not going on social media. I don't want to hear any ignorant comments. Just because you love those kids that you coach, that they like my kids.
That's right.
Those kids signed up, they committed to us to play for us. And so, our responsibility is to not only develop them and make sure they reach their goals, but we got to protect them. Mm-hmm. So I said, man, I'm gonna stay off social media. And I kind of knew what was coming in the days ahead. But we get to we lost on a Friday night, and so that weekend I didn't turn on the TV, I didn't anything. So I get back to the office Monday morning. I mean, it's still kind of quiet. I'm on the phone. I said, well, I'm gonna walk around and just kind of just check on some people, see who's around, and go down to our weight room, and I'm looking for the strength coach. And coach, what's up, man? So what's going on? And he said, coach, everybody on the team showed up and lifted already. And I was just like, wow. And I just remember thinking, we're going to be all right. So we first of all, we got the right guys in that locker room. But I said, like, for every guy, because you know how it is after the season, guys take off, man.
Yep.
You got to give them a break.
Yep.
And those, we had guys that just didn't leave campus. They just worked, so, man, we're going to get this corrected. And so the offseason was phenomenal. I mean, guys just stayed around and just worked and worked and worked. And, of course, we were able to go on that trip overseas. But Zach didn't go because he was with the Canadian national team over in the Philippines. And so it was great for us because, when you play with a guy that great, everybody can just kind of stand around and just, he's got it. Don't worry about it. And so for us to be able to go there without him and let other guys, be able to get their heads up and make contributions was beautiful. So it was beautiful on and off the court. It was a great trip, but our focus never wavered. And so we get back and we start practice. Man, it's competitive. Guys are not taking their foot off the gas. We go out to Maui, and probably one of the most loaded fields they've ever put together. Played 3 tough programs. We were able to pull it out, and so I just remember the season just being smooth. I was never really worried. Of course, we lost some games and we just got beat. Northwestern, it's a very difficult place to play. They beat us in overtime. All right, well, we on to the next one. Whereas like in the year before, guys might have gotten their heads down, and so okay, we lost. We learned from our mistakes. We're on to the next one, and so it just felt so different coming into the tournament this year because I think those guys were chomping at the bit because they wanted to get it corrected.
Yep.
And so I think I can't speak for everybody else, but I knew deep down inside I said, man, we're gonna find our rhythm. We're gonna roll. But those first 10 minutes, we're going against Grambling, and they're not backing down. I'm just like, oh my God. And so we find our rhythm and we get going. And, we get Iowa State. It was Utah State the next round. We beat them. We get to the Sweet 16 with a Gonzaga team that we'd seen earlier in the season out in Maui. Very good game. We were able to get past them. Then we get to Tennessee. And so I just, when that horn went off, man, it was one of the greatest feelings of my life, and it had nothing to do with me. I was so happy for the guys because I knew everything that they had to deal with the season before. So just seeing just how happy those guys were, and then to be able to get to a Final Four. Then of course, man, we run into I think an all-time great.
I agree.
And
I agree.
UConn team. But the one thing you take away is like we're bringing a lot of guys back. Guys were able to experience that. And you know how it is when guys experience something, man. They know what it tastes like. They wanna try and get back to that level again.
Yep, they get a little greedy. That's right.
Even with the success that we've had this season, man, we still got guys that, man, they stayed and worked. And I said, man, we got the right guys in that locker room.
So, Coach, like without giving up trade secrets, you guys do such a good job of identifying players that fit in the culture. And I know everybody throws out culture, but it's well established that you guys have a unique culture, one that didn't go out and get any transfers. And even in the transfer portal, you got Lance Jones, who was integral to your success last season, but you're not like flipping the roster over. You guys have got 6 incoming freshmen, and it's an outstanding class. Like I said, without giving up trade secrets, what is the key to identifying the players that fit so well in your program that are open to the player development that you guys are able to provide?
Well, the one thing about it is we want to bring good people in. Now, of course, you need talent, some other physical attributes to be able to play high major college basketball, but none of that supersedes being a good person. Because I talked about it earlier, we spend so much time together.
Yeah.
So I want to be around a good person. You know, whether it's going good or whether it's going bad.
That's right.
Because I know I'm going to be the same person, and I want that kid to be the same person. We have not jumped in the portal a whole lot. Sometimes you have to jump in because that's the only place to find what you're looking for.
Sure.
We still believe in recruiting high school kids and bringing them in and immersing them in our culture. And I know the word gets thrown around a lot, but you know the Purdue culture is just, man, it's good people. We're going to bring good people in. We're going to work hard. We're going to enjoy our hard work. We're going to work together. We're going to be unselfish. We're going to love each other. We're going to be the same people in wins or losses. You know, I don't think it's like any secret sauce in that. You know, Coach Payne has done a great job of like establishing our program, and basically that's what it is.
And man, you guys have tremendous success with bigs. Why are you all so successful at developing these bigs?
You know, when I got on at Purdue, we had a guy by the name of AJ Hammonds, and then he was a talented kid, but us as a staff were just trying to, just kind of figure out a way to like help get him going. And once we did, man, it was just trouble for everybody else. Like
yes, it was.
So you watch the NBA, and with the success that Golden State had playing small ball, well, I think it's just the opposite in college basketball. I think size still matters in college basketball.
That's right.
You just watched us this year, Purdue, with Zach Edey go up against UConn, who had a 7'2", 7'3" guy in Donovan Clingan. So I thought it was a beautiful thing to be able to watch, two teams that still believe in size playing for the national championship. Size is hard, man. If you don't have size, you still have to deal with it. Now, I know people will pick on size in this era by putting all skill on the floor. We had to deal with it with your alma mater. We said, man, they're going to try to go small. They're going to pick on Zach. And it was, it was always kind of a thorn in our side because we knew it was going to get to that. But you guys have been great as well, using size. Kofi Coburn was, he was the bully on the block in our league, for a few years. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to have a guy like Zach, who can kind of go toe to toe with Kofi.
Yep. And so I got a few of the guys, man. Edey, Biggie, Travion Williams, Matt Harms, Isaac Hodge, just to name a few. You've had your hand in developing all of these players. Is there a commonality that you notice with all those guys that have been highly successful in the post?
They were all good players, but for some reason they were just overlooked. I tell people, I said, man, like those guys came in with something. you know, people see Zach, and I know they think 7'4", 300, but you know, you got to remember Zach played baseball. He was a pitcher.
That's right.
So he played hockey. So man, he's very coordinated. He's very athletic for someone, you know, of that size. And then all of a sudden, I know he picked up basketball kind of late, but he was, you know, he came to us and he was a sponge. You know, his work ethic was off the charts.
Okay.
I was just like, man, I gotta match his work ethic, because you know he would come into the office at night and he didn't want to leave. So the next time you come visit the Purdue basketball offices, I'm going to show you the chairs where he sat down. Like, he literally broke the chairs because he was in there so much. He would come up with his little box from training table and he'd be eating his food. And you know, he wanted to watch the offensive side. He wanted to watch the defensive side.
Wow.
He wanted to come up and watch other opponents. You know, he was his freshman year. We played Illinois. He really didn't play that much because Travion was ahead of him. Travion was a first team All Big Ten guy.
Yes, he was.
And you know, he wanted to play against Kofi so bad because he wanted to show people, like, you know, I can be like that. And I can't tell you how many hours we spent just watching Kofi. He wanted to see everything. He wanted to see how he was on offense. He wanted to see how he was on defense. He was just doing his best, just trying to find something. But he would do that with a lot of guys, and I'm just like, man, this dude is not going to quit. You know, he come to practice and he was relentless. You know, I can't think of too many practices where he was not engaged. You know, and he was going to stay after practice. You a former Division I baskalball player. You know how it feels during the course of the season. That thing gets long, and
yes, it does.
You know, coach blows that whistle. You're trying to get out of there. He would stay, and he had a routine where he would just, you know, he would shoot his hook shot. He would shoot it with the left hand, the right hand. He would shoot it from different angles, and he worked on his free throws. Like he didn't waste a lot of time during his day. So for him. I kind of, you know, I remember when his mom dropped him off, and I never thought that he would be able to like reach the highest level, like individually as a college player, the way he did. But then I think back and I'm just like, well, heck yeah, this dude reached it, man. Like, look how he worked.
That's right.
You know, just you don't really see. I haven't been around too many guys that work like that. But Caleb Swanigan was a worker like that. So. You know, maybe he stayed another year. I definitely think, you know, he would have gotten a National Player of the Year award. But he was a national runner-up. But man, the way those two guys work, oh man.
And I love to hear that, Coach, because what happens now, young people, hopefully some of them will hear this interview and understand that the best players work the hardest. I mean, there's a direct correlation. It's not like, Isaac Haas or Matt Harms or, like you said, AJ Hammonds. It's not like these guys were the best players coming out of high school, right? They weren't the most highly rated, but once they got to Purdue and accepted and embraced the culture and got to work, then the results speak for themselves. And so I really appreciate you sharing that story, because I think that people saw the progression of Zach Edey each year, but they don't really understand the dedication that it takes to have that type of progress each and every year. So, that's great. Is there anything that you want to share, Coach, with us that I didn't touch on?
I think I spoke on it earlier. I said your team, when you guys were in college, was one of my favorite teams, and so one of the best things about being in this profession is crossing paths with guys that that inspired you and you looked up to. So, I remember watching so many of you guys' games, and then like all of a sudden, like, man, I'm friends with you now. Like, it's a big deal. Deion Thomas was a guy, I was in high school and I'm like, man, I'm trying to get to that level. And all of a sudden, like, to be able to not only compete against him like in college, but to get to know him, I'm just like, wow, he's one of the best dudes I've ever met, man.
Great dude.
Every time I see him, it's gonna be a big bear hug, and anytime I call him, and he calls back. So it's it's a beautiful profession, and I know it's so much stuff going on in college basketball with the changing landscape, with the transfer portal and NIL. But, you know, to anybody that's listening, that's going to listen to our conversation, the most important thing, you know, for us is like getting these kids on campus and being able to put our hands on them as far as developing them and helping them understand the value of receiving that college education and teaching, you know, through love. You know, I spoke on it earlier. I said, man, that's the reason. That's one of my biggest joys is, you know, to see kids. Maybe you get your hands on a kid that he can be the first person in his family to get a college degree, and to see that kid be able to reach that level, man, that's what it's all about. You know, a kid like Zach Keady, who nobody believed in, you know, from the start, including me. Like I said, I never thought like he would reach that level, and you know, to see that kid, you know, be able to do that, and he's a humble kid. Oh my God, man! Like, root for that kid. That's the kid you root for.
That's right. That's exactly right.
He was ranked 425th, whatever that number was, and he. The one thing I tell people about Zach is like he's got a huge chip on his shoulder. So you tell him he can't do something, man, he's gonna break his back trying to show you that he can do it. So I said, man, like this is the kid that, you know, you want your, you know, you're a parent, you got kids, like look to that dude. That's what you want.
That's right.
All of us are not blessed with that unbelievable talent. You know, in the music industry, you got the Michael Jacksons and the Beyoncés. Man, it's only one of those, you know.
That's right.
Like basketball, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. Man, God don't make too many, you know, like that. But
that's right.
You can look to Zach for inspiration and say, hey man, I'm gonna put my head down and I'm gonna do it. So, you know, that's the reason, man, like, you know, college basketball is just so special to me.
I love that. That's the perfect way to end up this interview, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Purdue assistant coach Brandon Brantley. Coach, thanks so much for your time, man. All right, guys, that was assistant coach Brandon Brantley from Purdue. Thank you so much, Coach, for your time. I really appreciate it, man. Great wisdom, great insight on the Purdue program. So we thank Coach Brandon Brantley and look forward to seeing him really soon. All right, so let's keep it moving. There was an important finding, or so to speak, and I'm going to read this directly. Shannon's lawyers argued that the video evidence they will present during the trial will show another man standing next to the alleged victim the night of the alleged sexual assault at the same bar in Lawrence, which Judge Amy Hanley called relevant to the case during her ruling. The third-party defendant, according to Shannon's legal team, had been accused of sexually touching another woman in a non-consensual manner 2 weeks earlier at the bar, where the woman in Shannon's case had told police in September that a man had sexually penetrated her with his fingers. She had identified Shannon via Google search. So I'm not a law professional or anything like that. But if a judge hears that there's pertinent information via video that can be admitted as evidence for this trial, it would seem as though this might be a crucial piece of evidence for Terrance and his journey to hopefully be innocent of what he's accused of. So that I wanted to update you guys on that. The trial date, let me see. Yeah. So that ruling was this past Friday. I'm looking for the date. It doesn't appear in this article that they're giving the date for the trial to commence. But this is an important piece, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to keep a close eye on this. And hopefully this, along with some other things, can exonerate Terrance Shannon Jr. in this case. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. In recruiting news, there was a decommitment for Purdue. Ironically, it just happened. I think it was this past Friday. My intern Hunter alerted me to. Cannon Catchings decommits from Purdue. Not sure why. I got to go check out Sleepers Media. I know they did a video on it, and they do a good job of going in depth about what's behind some of these things. They probably have heard or know some information, so I got to go there and check it out. If you guys have not checked out Sleepers Media, go check them out on YouTube. They do a great job of covering college basketball, in particular Big Ten basketball. So I got to go check Greg and I always get their names mixed up. Greg and Elliot, I believe, but they do a really good. Those two guys do a great job. So go check out Sleepers Media on that, because I know they have a video on that. But it was surprising that Cannon Catchings would decommit from Purdue. He was part of that 6-man incoming freshman class, and for a guy that is as highly rated and thought of as Cannon Catchings, to have a decommitment from him kind of stings a little bit for the Purdue program. So we'll make sure to keep you guys abreast of that. Coleman Hawkins visited Kansas State this weekend, and Coleman, he doesn't do anything quietly. So he goes to Kansas State and posts something about him being in Manhattan, Kansas. And then Hunter Dickinson of Kansas gets on Twitter and let's see. Let me see here. I'll share my screen here so you guys can kind of see one of the exchanges. All right, here we go. So Coleman Hawkins, as you can see, he's put up pictures of him in a Kansas State uniform, sitting there posing and doing his thing there. And then, so imagine getting to see these two go to war in the Sunflower Showdown next year. Dickinson is 0-5 versus Hawkins in his career, including Kansas and Illinois' exhibition game this preseason. And Coleman Hawkins puts up a Shaquille O'Neal gif. You're only about an hour and 30 away from real basketball in Kansas, Hunter Dickinson puts up. So a nice friendly back and forth with Coleman Hawkins and Hunter Dickinson. So I thought you guys would find that a little bit interesting as well. So Coleman doing his thing. We don't know what's going to happen. Will he? Sorry about that, guys. Will he commit to Kansas State? He's got a visit scheduled for Louisville. Don't know exactly when. So I will keep you abreast. When I find out, so will you. So Coleman doing his thing and having a good time doing it. Let's see. Oh, I got some shout outs I want to give before I get to you guys' questions. Big ups to Taylor Battle. Was with Northwestern, now joins the Ohio State basketball staff with Jake Diebler. Tremendous get for Ohio State, I think, because you've got Taylor Battle, leading scorer in Penn State history. Now he has been a coach at Northwestern for the last couple of seasons with his brother Boo Buie, and now he joins Ohio State. So you've got a guy that played in the Big Ten, a guy that's coached in the Big Ten, and now he comes to Ohio State staff and bolsters the Buckeyes coaching staff. So congratulations to Taylor Battle, to my man. Shout out to him. Shout out to Sadi Washington. Now, this is a savvy move. I'm not sure that if there was a prize assistant from Michigan State, Michigan would have grabbed him. But Michigan State grabbed Sadi Washington, veteran assistant coach in the Big Ten, was most recently at Michigan, has been under Beeline, was under Juwan Howard. And I think Dusty May wanted to bring in his own staff. Sadi Washington is a tremendous pickup. Big ups to Michigan State for going to get Sadi. I know that Mark Montgomery now is the head coach at University of Detroit, obviously in Detroit. And so Michigan State had an opening in their staff, and they couldn't have gotten a better assistant coach. So congratulations to Sadi Washington and the Michigan State basketball program. That's a big get for them. And this one warmed my heart, y'all. Big ups and congratulations to Phoenix Gill for his commitment to the Northwestern basketball program. This is a big get. Coach Chris Lowry was the lead assistant on this one. So congratulations to Coach Lowry and to Coach Collins and the Northwestern basketball family. They got a great one in Phoenix Gill. This is Kendall's son. This is my nephew. You guys know that I'm overjoyed, man, because I've got John Blackwell at Wisconsin. Phoenix Gill next season will be at Northwestern. I don't know if John will be around when Phoenix comes in, but to have two nephew-like guys playing in the conference that I get to cover is great for me, but it's better for Phoenix and his family because he's worked extremely hard. And for him to have an opportunity to play in a Big Ten program, I'm overjoyed for Wendy, his mother, Wendy Gill, is a Northwestern graduate. So her baby boy is going to follow her footsteps in Northwestern. So congratulations to Wendy, Kendall, and Phoenix Gill for his commitment to Northwestern. Happy 85th birthday to the one and only Dick Vitale, one of the college basketball's pioneers in the sport. He really helped put the sport on the map. Dick Vitale's been great to me. He's been great to Marcus Liberty. I know he's been great to members of the Flying Illini, and he's been great for the sport overall. So big ups to the godfather of college basketball, Dick Vitale. Happy 85th birthday to you, my man. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And then finally, I want to send a special thank you to the paying members of the tribe. These are people that have paid to be in the inner circle that is the tribe, and they've been very patient with me because I'm still working out that process of the business. But special thank you to Stacia Copland, Pick Sasha, M. Bratz, Tarun Reddy, Philip Kafka, Mel Steinmetz, Paul Davis, Jeff Black, Cheryl Seibert, Dwight Miller, and John Judd for your support of the tribe in Bardo's Breakdown. I can't thank you enough. I thank you so much. I hope more of you can consider being on the paid side, because we're going to do some special things for these members. And thank you for your belief in the tribe and Bardo's Breakdown, and love you all very much, and see you and talk with you soon. They know what I'm talking about when I say that. All right. We got the business out of the way. Let's get to the questions here. Yes, Aldwin Stevenson, no doubt. Brandon Brantley, you could tell when he was talking about his family, when he was talking about what it means for him to be a part of the Purdue program, not only buying into it from high school time to being a Boiler, but also coming back and being an assistant coach. It's big time. He really represents what the Purdue program is all about. So Aldwin, I agree. And Aldwin, if this is your first time on Bardo's Breakdown, welcome. And hope to see you back for more shows. Kirk Ridberg, what's up, Kirk? He talked about the youth camp that he attended at Purdue. I think it's huge, Kirk. It's still big because in the day of AAU, those programs, those youth camps, you could still find a diamond in the rough in those. So I feel you on that. You know what? I didn't get a chance to ask him that, Randy, because I don't know if those guys, I get very careful, because when these coaches take their time to be on this platform, I don't want to put them in a position that can get them in trouble, or they say something they're not supposed to say. And around those recruits, those are sensitive topics that I don't want to bring up unless I know that they can comment on them without having some sort of backlash or negativity coming from compliance or something like that from their program. CDNIU, I got to meet Gene Keady at a Final Four Fan Fest 2019 in Minneapolis. Great guy. Also got to meet Matt Painter, another great guy. Yeah, I think that Purdue program, one of the reasons I wanted to bring Coach Brantley on is because Purdue flies under the radar. Even a national title game participant, they still fly under the radar. As many times as they've been ranked number one for as many weeks the last two seasons as they've been, to not be considered, they're really never preseason top five. unless my memory escapes me. I don't think they were preseason top 5 this year. And for the success that they sustained over seasons, those guys represent a program that's one of the best in the country. And the character that they possess each and every day that I see, CD-NIU really fits that program. Justin Friesian, good to see you, my man. Bardo, okay, put yourself in Danny Hurley's seat. You won back-to-back titles, and Lakers offer what they did, and you can coach LeBron James. Would you turn that down? Yes, I would. Because, Justin, here's the deal. Coach Hurley has mentioned that he wants to coach at the NBA level at some point. So the Lakers offer him a 7-year, $70 million contract? He's probably going to get that from UConn. So, Justin, think of this. You're a back-to-back national champion. If you do a three-peat, now you put yourself in the same category as John Wooden. He's Hall of Fame already. But when you can etch your name as one of 2 coaches in college basketball history to three-peat, or go to a Lakers organization that's dysfunctional, that clearly lacks leadership from the top, that is quasi-run by LeBron James, and you've got Anthony Glass Joe Davis. I think he played maybe the most games of his career this past season. You're kind of handcuffed on your salary cap because you spent too much money. Would you want to go deal with the Lakers situation that there's no clear-cut avenue to the Western Conference Finals or the finals right now in the West with the way that roster is made up, and the money that the Lakers offered him, UConn will probably more than likely match that or get close to it. I know that Coach Hurley's family loves the Northeast. So there's a lot of varying factors to where he can still be king of college basketball. He doesn't have to change a thing. He's got a roster that's coming in, I believe, with 2 McDonald's All-Americans and Terrance Reed Jr. and they got another big-time transfer. Ian Mahaffey, a really talented guard coming in from St. Mary's. They have a chance to three-peat in college basketball. He's already submitted his name as one of the best to ever do it. But the three-peat, Jay Wright never did that. Coach Krzyzewski never did that. Jim Boeheim never did that. The only other coach to do that is John Wooden. So to me, it makes total sense for Dan Hurley to go back to UConn. Now, in the next 2 or 3 years, if Boston or New York, if the Celtics or the Knicks come up, now that's going to be a different story. He may jump at those opportunities. But to uproot his family and go all the way West Coast and try to deal with a dysfunctional franchise that I referenced earlier that has zero leadership from the top because they do knee-jerk stuff every single season, I wouldn't want to fool with that. Now, the Lakers allure, that's a tough thing to pass up if you want to coach at the NBA level. But I think it was a smart move by Hurley. Thank you, Justin. Great question. Curtis D says, I think Purdue is underrated because they haven't won a title, and it wasn't until this year that they made a Final Four recently. The rest of the country doesn't remember who wins conference championships. Correct. But Curtis, if we're going to go on that logic, there are certain has Illinois won a national championship? But Illinois gets a lot of love nationally. Maybe it's because of their fan base, the aggressive nature of Illini fans on Twitter. I don't know, but the Illinois fan base gets more than their fair share of love. But Purdue, for some reason, in my opinion, never quite gets the love of a blue blood, which I think they belong in, especially here in the last 5 years. Just my opinion. I've been to Allen Fieldhouse twice, loudest venue I've been to, but it isn't a great viewing experience if you're in the top level. A lot of blind spots. There are no blind spots in Mackey Arena, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out if you haven't done so. Interesting point. Remember, Coach K turned down the Lakers when they had Kobe on the team. Some people value their legacy more than dollars. And Curtis, to be fair to Justin Friesian, we don't know that Coach K turned down the Lakers because of money and his legacy. We don't know that for certain. We don't know that what goes into these decisions. There's a ton besides the money and legacy that goes into these decisions. And so we'll never know why Coach K turned that down. What's up, Rich Dre? Coleman Hawkins, has he ever officially announced his desires? Schools? Yes. And what's taken this man so long? Because Rich, Coleman is a smart businessman. Why rush a decision when you don't have to? He's gone to Kansas State this weekend. He's going to go to Louisville. And I think there's another school I think North Carolina was in there at one point, but I think they may have gotten the four that they were looking for. Why rush it? It's not like he's a freshman and doesn't know how to play at the college level, at the elite level. He knows how to play at the elite level. He's taking his time. He's making the best decision for him. Why rush it? He's got a lot of money. There's a lot of money on the line, Rich. He's got high 6 or low 7 figures on the line here. So I wouldn't rush it. There's no need to. Fly Illini Fly has been all over this story. Will Riley's decision, a talented 5-star high school player, is going to make his decision here pretty soon. And let's hope that Illinois can pick him up, because he's a string bean at 6'8", but he looks very, very skilled. He's going to be a solid player, Fly Illini Fly. Don't trust me on that. Phoenix Gill, with those family bloodlines and his work ethic, he's going to make some noise in the Big Ten. And I don't know. Why would that spark headlines? Why would Phoenix Gill playing at Northwestern spark headlines? It's awfully tough to follow a dad that was the top player, the top scorer in the Big Ten Conference. I think he was Big Ten MVP his senior year. He was number 5 pick in the 1990 NBA draft. He played 15 years in the NBA. So for a son to follow a dad's footsteps in that regard, that's hard, guys. That's very, very difficult. So Phoenix is going to make his own way at Northwestern. And I love it. I think it's a great decision for Phoenix. And the headlines will be that Phoenix Gill can ball. That's what the headlines will be. I don't think it's going to be anything other than that. Good question. What would be your all-time Purdue team? I only pick guys that I've seen play. Moore, Ivy, Hummel, Robinson, and Ivy. Well, you got Ivy twice there. Rick Mount has to go on there. Troy Lewis, he was a killer. He's in my, because I played against him. So Rick Mount, Troy Lewis, Big Dog Glenn Robinson. Zach Edey's got to be in there. What the career he just had at Purdue, he's got to be in there. So I said Rick Mount, Troy Lewis, Big Dog Glenn Robinson, Zach Edey. I understand why you got Ivy in there. I'm going to go with a 4-year guy. Man, you got me on this one. Dang. Rick Mount, Troy Lewis, Big Dog Glenn Robinson, Zach Edey. Oh, and I would go with the guard that played with Jawan Johnson and Robbie Hummel. Oh, guys, help me. Somebody help me, please. What is his name? Eton Moore. That's it. So I got Rick Mount, Big Dog Glenn Robinson, Zach Edey, Troy Lewis, and E'Twaun Moore is my top 5 all-time Purdue players ever. And that's a hell of a list. That is a heck of a list. But those are my 5. But great question, CD and IU. You always coming strong, my man. I appreciate you. Okay, so he had Edey. So you have Moore, Ivy, Hummel, Robinson, and Edey. Okay. And I got Rick Mount, Troy Lewis, Big Dog, Glenn Robinson, Zach Edey, and E'Twaun Moore, my top 5 Purdue players ever. Good list, though. What's up, Kevin Lucas? Congratulations to Phoenix Gill on his commitment to Northwestern. I know you're proud. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I remember when that boy was born. I introduced his parents to one another. So I got something to say about that. So that, yeah, I'm very happy for Phoenix and his family, because Phoenix has worked very hard. His family has made a lot of sacrifices, like all families do when players reach this level, because you got to give up money, time. These parents give up their weekends for their children to follow them around on these AAU circuits. So very, very proud of them, and can't wait to see them get started. All good, Dory. The trial started today with jury selection. Okay, thanks for that heads up, Dory. So we're going to see what happens once this video evidence is introduced in court, and see the effect or impact that this has. Thank you, Dory. You would have to put Rick Mount on all. I did. Yep. What's up, Pooh? Who are the top-rated portal players left that can make a major impact to a team? Coleman Hawkins, Arthur Kaluma, who's coming out of Kansas State. He's still available. Jameer Watkins, the outstanding wing player from Florida State that everybody was looking at to see where he was going. He's going back to Florida State. So guys that were in that top 50 transfer portal list from ESPN, I only think 2 are left, and that's Arthur Kaluma, 6'7", 6'8", talented wing player who finished this past season at Kansas State, and Coleman Hawkins. Those are the 2 that come to mind, Pooh. Oh, and Jordan Lathan from Morehead State says Aruk Das. And the kid, Jordan Lathan, is one from McNeese State, but there's also a young man from North Florida. What's that kid's name? 6'5" wing player. And we talked about him on Bardo's Breakdown. I can't remember his name, but I believe he's still out there as well. Okay, Kirk Ridberg says, as an Illini fan, I always considered Purdue a tough opponent always, but they are clean and a fair program, so I don't dislike them at all, like a few others in the Big Ten. Okay, Kirk, I could go with that. Randy Olson says, I think Coach Painter is still an underrated coach. I agree. I still remember him as a coach at SIU Carbondale. He always maintained a very level temperament during games, never too high, never too low. His players emulate that, and they took care of business this year. Yes, they did. Outstanding year. Guys, Purdue ran into one of the best teams in college basketball history. This past UConn team that won the national championship, they're going to go down as one of the best ever. That was an outstanding UConn team. Outstanding. Okay, Fly Illini Fly thinks Jordan Lathan is the best player remaining in the portal. He's one of them, but Arthur Kaluma and Coleman Hawkins are right in there as well. Thomas Dagley said, I've been to Mackey Arena, great atmosphere. Illinois won. Okay. I got you, Thomas. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Yeah, Holly, Fly Illini Flies thinks that Illinois is right in the mix. We'll see here pretty soon. I don't know if he has picked a date of which he's going to announce, but he's right there. Russell Cross was a monster. Russell Cross was a center at Purdue in the late 70s, early 80s, and he had an outstanding career from, I think he went to Mount Carmel High School here in Chicago, and had an outstanding career at Purdue. So he was a great one as well. I don't think I can put him over Zach Edey, though. Oh, what's up, Kyrie Thompson? Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I have fun calling those Chicago Sky games, ladies and gentlemen. I love the fact that the ladies are getting the much deserved attention that they are getting right now. But the WNBA has been fantastic for years. I've been calling games off and on for the last 10 years. I love calling games in the WNBA, particularly the Chicago Sky, because they do a great job with their program or with their franchise, and their in-game entertainment is off the chain. So if you have not been to a Chicago Sky WNBA game, I suggest you all go and check it out. For those men that think that women's basketball is not entertaining, go see a game live and then come talk to me. You can watch on television and you can have all the criticism you want. Until you can see how athletic and strong and skilled these ladies are up close and personal, you don't know what you're talking about. So anybody that has criticism and says, oh, I don't like the style of play because they can't play, go see a game in person and then come talk to me. I guarantee you'll have a new level of respect for the women, because it's an outstanding league, and it's been that way. Caitlin Clark didn't make the WNBA. She's brought a lot of attention to it, but the league was really, really well established before she showed up. I'm glad she's here. I'm glad she's bringing this media attention, and I'm glad she's doing well because she leads all rookies in scoring. And the fact that she didn't get named to the Olympic team, I'm good with that. A lot of people were upset. So what? She's not one of the top players yet. She will be at some point, but not yet. So I'm good with it. But thank you, Kyrie. Chaz Lanier is a young man. Oh, that's right, Kevin. You're right. He did commit to Tennessee, so he's off the board. Thank you for that clarification. Oh, man, Kurt, good question. Which portal player and freshman do you see having the biggest impact in the Big Ten this season? Wow. Man. I got to think about that one, Kurt. And that's going to be a topic for Bardo's breakdown. That's a great question. I'm going to highlight that question because we're going to work on that next week. I don't want to throw some stuff out there because I got to look through all the freshmen. And to give you some insight, Kurt, because it's such a great question, here's my thought process. I go through and look at the freshmen, what their positions are with their particular teams, and where the freshmen, because if you're going to have impact freshmen like Owen Freeman at Iowa this past year, they needed a post player to step right in and have some success. So I look at freshmen who will have the ability to step right in. One that comes to mind is Bryson Tucker from Indiana. And the biggest portal player, again, is what fit does that portal player bring to the particular program? So I'm going to utilize this next week for one of our segments. Great question, Kurt. Thank you for that. And I will definitely address it. Oh, I don't think anybody would disagree with you, fly, Illini, fly. I think that Edie Williams and Ivy, yeah. I think from a talent standpoint, I do believe that team was more talented than this past season. And they ran into a buzzsaw in the Sweet 16 against, was it St. Peter's? Yeah, it was St. Peter's. They ran into a buzzsaw. But I do think that Travion Williams, Jaden Ivey, Zach Edey, that team was more talented than this team. But this team was better, obviously, because they got to the national championship game. Pretty good here. Fly, line, and fly. Portal player, Ballo. Good choice. Freshman, Dylan Harper. Good choice. He's going to have that ball in his hands at Rutgers. Good choice. Okay. Well, guys, here, don't forget to, if you want to be a part of the insiders piece that is Bardo's Breakdown, the Tribe, go to bardostribe.com, BARDOS tribe.com. You can get your free copy of Triple Threat, Stephen Bardo's Guide to Basketball Terminology. It's a free guide. It's a fun guide of hip hop and jazz references that I utilize to describe how I talk about college basketball. Go get your free copy and get signed up for the newsletter. And then there are 2 levels of support there on the tribe. Go check those out and sign up for one of those, because we'll be rolling out some special offers when you do sign up for those levels. I referenced the people that have signed up, that have paid. Thank you very much to our paid members. And please consider joining as a paid member, because you won't get this basketball community experience anywhere else but on Bardo's Breakdown, the Tribe. And again, like, share, and subscribe to this channel, guys. Bardo Media on YouTube. It really helps the growth of the show. And I really want to grow this channel. Moving away, I'm not abandoning Facebook, but I'm moving away from it because YouTube is a lot more clear cut on what to expect on that platform. So thank you guys for that. And thank you for joining Bardo's Breakdown. A great show. Thanks once again to Purdue assistant coach Brandon Brantley for joining Bardo's Breakdown. Tune in next week. You never know who we're going to have. Until next time, holla, y'all.